Welcome to this Flow360 training webinar. In this session, we are going to be looking at statistics and reporting. We're going to look at the start screen status update, how you configure this, how you trigger it manually. We're then going to look at Helpdesk instant reports so that you can simply from your current active Helpdesk list get access to things quickly like who is doing what right now, what's the distribution of work. We're going to look at Helpdesk issue KPIs, including chart outputs and comparisons between dates to look at performance. We'll then look at resource usage statistics. This applies to bookable resources. And then we're going to move on to the basics of reporting from the lists and from the tab lists and what the differences are between the two, using the filters and triggering basic reports. We're going to look at both ad hoc reports, which are temporary, not stored, and the facilities for saving reports. We're going to look at storing reports as documents to link back to objects, and finally looking at exporting reports, saving them out to Excel and PDF for further distribution or work. As usual, we'll be using our online demo for this session, so please do ignore the fact that some of the data may not be quite as up to date as it might be on your own, I'm sure, well-managed sites. So, we're logged into our demo as a manager using the Pro option layout for the front screen buttons. And I want to look first of all at this little status update. If I click on this little button here, I'm going to get a status report that tells me where I am right now in terms of tasks that are due, tasks that are overdue, works items that are running late, Helpdesk issues overdue, or indeed inspections with red alerts. All of these things show. And each of these is in fact a clickable link. So if I want to look at, say, my inspections with red alerts, then I can click on that link and it will give me a list of all of those inspections that have currently got red alerts on them. From this list, of course, I can simply drill through to the relevant inspection to view further detail. So that status update is very handy. Other things it can show you include things like qualifications and training requirements. It can alert you for those qualifications that are coming up for renewal or relevant training that's not yet been completed and is running late. Where do you configure that status panel? That's done from your personal preferences. So if I click on the little preference button here from the front screen, which of course I can trigger from any screen pretty much, and go to the tab here that says Main Start Options. And this is the section we want to look at where it says Status Message Option. This controls two things. It controls whether and how frequently that message shows when you log into Flow360, and it also controls what priority level of Helpdesk issues or works items are included in the status readout. So at the moment you can see the status message option here is set to do not show. That is, it will only show when triggered manually. However, I can change this to say show once per session, in which case it will pop up every time I log in to Flow360, or once per day, in which case obviously it will pop up the first time I log into Flow360 on any one particular day, and it will then remain quiet unless I trigger it manually until the following day. The other control here that comes into play is what levels of priority I want to include in these messages. So I can say I only want to see the priority 1 stuff, or priorities 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, or all. And that allows me to determine what level of priority, Helpdesk issue, or tasks or works are reflected in that status readout. So back at the start screen, let's move on and have a look at some Helpdesk issue quick reports. I'm going to click my Helpdesk button just to show me my current list of active issues. And I'm going to go straight to my reporting option here. So I'm not going to filter the list, I'm not going to do anything. This is simply my active list. It's what I get when I click the button without doing anything further from the front screen. and it will typically show you exactly what is going on at the moment. One option that's very useful here is simply to filter this list by team and person in charge. So give me a report on that basis. And that splits the list out so that I can see exactly which team, and within the team, which individual is currently dealing with which particular issues. So if we look at the electricians team here, 12 issues that are currently open, and I can see that 1 has been assigned to Edward Lee, 2 are assigned to Tim Jones, 9 are currently unassigned. That means they may simply be just being worked on by the team generally, or are yet to be picked up and actually dealt with. So that gives me a very quick and instant look at who is doing what. And of course, as usual with the reporting, if I don't want to see all of the individual line items, but I just want this numerical breakdown, then I can do that by repeating the same report choice. So we'll come down again, help desk issues by team and person in charge, but I'm going to uncheck the include detailed list, and that will just give me then headline figures for each team, and then within the team what's been assigned to whom, or how many issues have been assigned to each individual. So here, if we look at the maintenance team, we can see Edward's got 7 issues, George has 1, Patrick has 2, Steve has 2, Tim has 36, and there are 34 currently unassigned. So the quick reporting option is very handy when we're just looking at our help desk list, just to get instant feedback on how these issues are currently distributed. And of course we can do that for any of the report options. So if I come back to my report choices here, I have a lot of different things I can choose from here. So by team and person in charge is what we were just looking at, but we can filter this and sort it out by work type and issue type first of all. So let's just have a little look at that as another example, because again it just gives us this active list. And it gives us a different breakdown of the active list. So we can see here we've got booking services, we've got brickwork and blockwork work types, specifically issues that have been flagged as being brickwork and blockwork as a specific work type. Catering services have a lot of things going on, ICT support has a lot of things going on, and so on. And then we have some plumbing ones, painting and decorating, and then a whole set that have been unspecified. So each of the reporting options just allows us, with this active list, because that's what we're currently looking at, to simply get a different type of report breakdown. So we can use the reporting on this active list just to give us that quick result. And if we want to hang on to any of those reports, all we need to do is to save them. That is to rename them, and then they will be stored in the My Reports section of your personal home card. So let's just have a little look at doing that quickly with one of these instant access reports. Let's again go to help desk issues by person in charge and status, and we'll produce that report again. It gives us the same breakdown that we've already seen. And if we have a look here at the top of the report form, we can see it says here under the title, it says temp report brackets change title to save report, and then it just says help desk list. So if I want to hang on to this report, all I need to do is to change the title, and then it will be stored as a report that is currently only visible to me. So the reporting side is a personal thing, and initially when you produce a report, it's a report for your purposes, and it's only visible to you. So let's first of all just store this. So I'm going to say active issues list, and that's probably all I need to say for now. By default, of course, all reports, if you look over here on the right hand side, all reports are date and time stamped, and if I save that as a report, which I now have, then of course it has that date and time against it. So I don't need to also say it's the active issues list on the 10th of May. I can simply call it active issues list. So where has that been stored? If I go back to my personal home, so I click the little home button and go to personal home, there's one of the tabs here that says My Reports. And if I click on the My Reports tab, that report that we have just created, active issues list, is now stored as a report in my reports list. So I can click on that and just recover that report at any time. It doesn't regenerate, it is a fixed snapshot in time of that particular report. So any of these earlier reports that I've been looking at, electrical 5-year costs, for instance, this was generated on the 30th of May last year. I can really easily just pull those reports up and review them as and when I need to. So what happens if I want to share that report with somebody else? Let's go back to that active issues list that we just created. And I have some options here. One is store as document. Now you all know in Flow360 we have a documents library, and you can upload and attach documents to any object or thing, including people, works orders, help desk issues, buildings, objects in rooms, and so on. Currently, this is just a report, and I can only view this report by looking at the My Reports tab. If I want to save this as a document in Flow360, as a PDF document that I can then attach to things, then all I need to do is click this little box up here that says Store as Document, and I just need to confirm, because this is going to create a PDF, how I want this formatted as a PDF, and we'll choose A4 paper landscape format and click OK for that. And that creates a new PDF version of the report and puts it into my documents library. So we can see now stored as document, so it now says stored rather than store as document, and there's a tick in there, and there's a link button which takes me directly to the stored document record itself. And here we have it, along with the thumbnail up here. And of course, if I click on the thumbnail, then that just opens the PDF version of the report. So we can see it's very, very easy then to just to store an ad hoc report as a document. This is now a document that I can distribute to others. I've got the same controls on this document as I have on any other document. It's a PDF now in the system, and I can even flag it as a key document and automatically assign it to incoming issues or outgoing orders in the same way as I can assign any other document that's stored within the system. And I can search for it, of course, amongst my documents. So if I go to my documents button on the front screen and I simply type in active issues list, then that brings up that particular report that I've just created and stored as a document. Of course, I may well want to review one or more of these reports in Excel. I need to export them to Excel, maybe in order to manipulate the information further. And let's just have a quick look at how we do that. So I'm going to go back to the My Reports list on my personal card, go to My Reports. I'm going to pick up here. I've got a boiler resources, a sort of matrix report that I produced a while back on the boiler resources, which includes things like, you know, manufacturer, service date, part numbers, serial numbers, all of that sort of stuff. And I just want to take that out to Excel in order to do more things with this particular report. So from the report itself, which I've retrieved from the My Reports tab on my personal record card, I'm simply going to go to export this as an Excel file. I'm going to click Excel, export, and that will have exported it. And if I simply go to my downloads folder and open that document in Excel, let me just pull that across for you. So there we see exactly the same report in Excel, running in Excel, where I can now do further manipulation on the data or the information contained within the report if I need to, and of course email that on to colleagues, share it with other people if I need to do that as well. So the reporting output allows me in Flow360 to do that to Excel. Of course, I can simply save the report out to PDF as well, or to HTML, in which case it will simply be a file that can be double-clicked and loaded into a web browser. So on the reporting side, you have lots of flexibility to produce ad hoc reports, simply to review what's going on, to get a sub-summary of how things are looking right now, and then we can save those as reports on the My Reports tab on my homepage, and I can recall those. And then of course for any report I can store it as a document for linking back to other objects within Flow360, and I can also export any of those reports to Excel or to PDF or to HTML in order to further manipulate the information or to share it with others. So back at the start screen, we're going to have a quick look now at some KPIs, some statistics in relation to Helpdesk issues. And I want to go to my Helpdesk list in order to do this. I'm not going to use the filters. I'm simply going to use the KPI button here. Now this gives me access to a different type of reporting output than that is available through the normal report button. And I just want to show you some of the examples there. So if I click on the KPIs button, one very simple thing I can do is say, just show me all of the issues that were open on a particular date. So I can go back in time and I can say, let's just go back to 1st of January this year, and I want to see the detailed list as well. I have some other choices here. I could restrict this list to a specific issue type or a particular work type, or I can even look for issues that were open for an individual service provider or even for a team. But in fact, for this example, I just want to say, show me all of the issues that were open on the 1st of January, and I want to see the list as well. So let's just hit the confirm button on that. And I get a report output that simply lists, in this case, 496 issues that were open on the 1st of January. Now you can see here, if we look over on the right-hand side, the color flashes, those with blue and CL next to them, indicate that the status of those issues now is that they've been closed. But what this report is showing me is that that issue, or those issues, were in fact open on the 1st of January. One of the useful things about these report outputs is that we have a little pop-up next to each row, so I can click on the little pop-up button on a particular row just to get a little bit more of the outline information about that particular Helpdesk issue that's been listed in the report. And indeed, I could click the little Go To button here to jump directly to that particular issue on the events, the Helpdesk issues that are stored in the system. So that's a sort of handy little report we can produce on the KPIs. What's often useful as well, of course, is to look at performance in relation to number of issues that are open on a date. And in order to do that, we need to compare dates. So I want to compare the issues that were open on a particular date with the number of issues that were open on a specified date and time earlier than that. So let's just say, well, let's look at today and compare that with 6 months ago, because I want to have a little look at how we're doing in terms of keeping up with demand. And I really want to see the detailed list again so that I can get a feel for all of those issues that were there. So I click on the confirm button again. And I get a double listing this time. So I get issues open on the 10th of May, that's today, 567. And if I scroll down the list, there are all my 567 issues. And as we keep going down, I then get to the next section, issues that were open on the 10th of November 2016, 492. And I can scroll through all of those if I want to. And right at the bottom, then we get so the November readout 492, the current readout 567, and the percentage change 15.24% more issues open today than we had open 6 months ago. And obviously from that then we begin to ask questions. Does that mean we're getting more issues logged on the system, or does it mean that our performance in terms of keeping up with the number of open issues is falling behind? So that's a simple comparison, just looking at numbers of issues open on a date compared with another date. Let's have a look at one or two other options that are available here in terms of the statistics. Issues that are open, that have been open for more than 7 days. That's a very useful measure of how we're doing. How many issues are coming onto the system that have been open for more than 7 days, or indeed open for more than 30 days. We might need to look at the number of issues that are being logged on the system during a particular time frame. So issues logged per month in period, or per week, or per day. Let's have a look at per month in period. So we want to sort of take a big view here. And the valid range for this is 2 months to 2 years. So in fact, let's go to 2 years And this is a chart output we're going to be looking at here. So the issues logged per month in this 2-year time frame. So that's working back from the current date back 2 years. And let's just click confirm on that, just so that we can see this chart that gives us that output. And along the bottom of the chart, we simply have numbers 1 to 24, which relate to the specific individual monthly periods that the chart relates to. So we can see here, if we look at 6, where we have a massive spike, this is the 1 month period ending the 10th of November 2015, and we had 82 issues logged during that month. Whereas if we come across to 19 or 20, so 19 was the month ending the 10th of December 2016, only 2 issues logged. So we can very quickly and easily see from the chart where we're getting peaks and troughs in terms of numbers of issues that are being logged during particular time frames. So we are able to do that on the KPIs channel. Let's just look at these options again. So issues logged per day, during a time frame, per week, per month. Then we can move on and start comparing the number of issues logged versus the number of issues that are closed. And that gives us a nice handle on how we're doing in terms of performance. And let's again sort of go back over that same 2-year time frame. Remember, with all of these, that I could restrict this to a specific individual team or provider or work type or issue type as well. So I can focus in much more precisely if I want to. Notice also that there's an option up here to use the listed records. If that's not checked, and currently it isn't, then that's simply, if I execute this particular performance filter, it will go back over the 2 years and find me all issues that are logged, and it's going to look at issues logged versus issues closed per month over that entire 2-year time frame for all issues. I could restrict it using one of these options, or I might have used the filter up here, the find button up here on the list, first of all, in order to find a specific subset of records. I might, for instance, be interested in looking at how we're doing in terms of performance, looking after this particular part of the site, in which case I can find those issues that relate just to a building or a subsection of the site, and then run this performance filter comparing number of issues logged versus number of issues closed per month across that time frame, but restricted by ticking the box here, use listed records. We're then going to restrict that comparison to just the set of records that are currently showing in the main list here behind this filter panel. So I'm just going to click the confirm here now. So we're looking at this 2-year time frame, all issues, all areas of the site, all service providers, and the green bars show us the number of issues logged, and the red bar for each month shows us the number of issues closed. So we see some big discrepancies. I mean, let's just take period 2 here as an example, which is the period ending the 10th of July 2015. Number of issues logged, 9. Number of issues closed, 9. Excellent, keeping up with demand. Let's go back to that peak that we had in November 2015. Number of issues logged, 82. Number of issues closed, only 8. Some serious issues there, clearly, with a massive peak in terms of number of issues logged, and also really not keeping up with demand at all well in terms of how many issues we're closing out. So again, the chart output is a very nice, quick visual check of how we're doing. Remember, again, we're looking at demo data here in our demo system. So what you see in your own systems hopefully would be much better balanced than this, but this gives you a very good feel for that instant output and how you can look at those statistical breakdowns of issues logged versus issues closed. Let's just have another look at one or two other things quickly. The percentage of issues closed on target during the period versus the average for the period. That's very handy so that we can track how well we're doing in terms of closing things on target. And we can also then do split out by the average close time, looking for issues by priority. So we can say, what's the average close time for a priority 1 issue as opposed to a priority 2, 3, 4, for instance. And we can do that by SIP for priorities as well. So all of those options that we see in the KPIs panel, just explore them, try things out, look at different periods, go for chart output, restrict it, use the filters first, use the listed records. We also have some other options here on some of the reports that allow us to load the results of the filter back into the list. So issues that have been open for more than 30 days. Let's look for today's date, and we're going to load those records back into the list. So rather than chart output or report, what I want to do now is find all of those issues that have been open for more than 30 days today and load that set back into the current list. So that's now what's happened. And you can see here the filter at the top of the list is confirming here what we did to get at this list of records. And what we did was we ran a KPI, a performance indicator filter, and that shows us issues open for more than 30 days on the 10th of May 2017 at 10:18 in the morning. And of course, having arrived at that list, we could then go back to our report options and produce some reports on that set of records. So helpdesk issues by date, cost center by status, by target date, and so on, in order to then produce a report for issues that were open or have been open for more than 30 days on the 10th of May. So I hope that's given you a little bit of a flavour here for the various options that are available to you, both in terms of reporting output and in terms of the key performance indicator statistics in order to get those breakdowns of all sorts of things in terms of current activity or past activity, both on the help desk list, and we have a similar set of options if we go to our works list, of course. Let's do that. So I'm going to go to my list of active works, and we also have some KPIs option here on the works list, a more restricted set in relation to works orders, but still a whole set of useful options with the same choices that allows us to restrict by work type or provider, by team, to use the listed records, and so on. And of course, the report outputs, wherever you are in the system, you have reporting outputs available to you. So let's just revisit some of this quickly. Go back to King's College, and we've got a report button on the site record that allows us simply to get a breakdown of information about objects on the site. So let's say we just want to get a list of all of the buildings, areas, zones, rooms, and so on across the entire site. Then I can get that sort of breakdown. Just to get a rooms list is sometimes just a handy thing to be able to do. Or we want breakdowns of inventory items and so on. Everything on the reporting side is as we saw it for reporting on helpdesk issues. It allows you simply to get a temporary snapshot report if you need that, to store it, to link it, to share it with others. So back at the start screen, I said we were going to have a quick look at some usage statistic outputs. So I'm going to go to room 6, and I just want to look at how well we've been using room 6 in terms of bookings. So we got main building, G12, room 6. Let's have a look at bookings for this location. So we've got some bookings in the system, we can see. I just wanted to check how we're doing in the first couple of weeks of this month in terms of utilizing this room. So I'm going to set the resource usage statistics here. Where did I get that? There's this little button here with a chart on it that lets me review usage statistics for any object that is bookable. So I'm going to say, let's just have a look from the 1st of May for 2 weeks. How have we done in terms of using this space? And it gives us a readout here that tells me that actually during those 2 weeks, 154 hours were in theory bookable for this particular resource, out of which only 8 were actually booked. So not doing terribly well in terms of making good use of this particular resource. But that's a handy way of just getting some statistics out of the system in terms of how you're using resources, and we can do that for the room, we can do it for an entire building. So let's go to bookings for the main building, and let's look at those statistics again. And this time we're going to say show all child levels. So we're going to go all the way down for any object, any room location that is in fact bookable. And we're going to go again 1st of May. Let's have a look for a month and just see what we've got in the system currently for any and all locations that are bookable within a main building for that 1 month period. And that's going to give us a breakdown of multiple charts. And here we can see the output. In fact, chart 1 of 2, we've got multiple rooms and locations that are bookable here. And in fact, we can see that room 6 has been booked a little bit, room 25 has been booked a little bit. Lots of the others have actually not been booked at all. So that was a brief look, a very brief look at resource and room booking statistics. You might like to play around with that a little bit, try some things out, look at your bookable resources and look at how well you're utilizing those resources. Of course, everything we've covered today is detailed in the user guide. As always, click the little question mark button in your web browser and that will pop open the current version of the user guide. We do try and keep this reasonably up to date in terms of new things coming out in Flow360, and of course you can track those lessons through step by step and follow the processes and try some things out for yourself. I hope that's been a useful session for you today. As always, if you have any specific questions, please get in touch with us directly using the support@flow360.net email address. We look forward to hearing from you in due course. Thank you for your time today.